The night was quiet in the deep forest. No cars, no people, only trees, wind, and stars. Ethan, a young human man, was walking back to a small wooden cabin. He had just finished checking his traps and gathering some firewood, but suddenly, he stopped. A strange light flashed in the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It moved too fast and too low. Then, there was a loud boom in the distance, and the earth shook under his feet. Ethan dropped his bag and ran toward the sound, his heart beating fast. He pushed through the thick trees. Smoke rose in the distance. Something had crashed. When he reached the clearing, he saw it, a small silver ship, half buried in the ground, glowing with strange lights. Sparks flew from the sides, and steam hissed from the broken panels. It didn't look like anything from Earth. Ethan took a step forward. Then another. "Hello?" he called. His voice, nervous but steady, a soft sound came from inside the ship. It was not metal breaking or wire sparking. It was a voice, weak and shaking. "Help, please." Ethan jumped over the broken wing and carefully entered the ship. The inside was glowing blue and warm. There, lying near the control seat, was a girl, not a human girl. She had soft lavender skin, glowing white hair, and strange markings on her legs. Her eyes opened when she saw him, wide and full of fear. "Don't hurt me," she whispered in a broken voice. Ethan raised his hands. "I won't," he said quickly. "I want to help." She tried to sit up, but cried out in pain. Her leg was twisted badly, the skin swollen and bruised. "I think your leg is broken," Ethan said, looking worried. He looked around the small ship, saw no danger, and gently picked her up. She was light, too light, and cold to the touch. The girl flinched, but didn't fight. Ethan carried her out of the wreckage and back through the forest. The walk was slow, but Ethan moved carefully. The girl stayed quiet in his arms, her eyes watching him with confusion. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. "Because you're hurt," Ethan replied, "and no one deserves to suffer alone." At the cabin, Ethan placed her gently on his bed. He covered her with a warm blanket and checked the fire. The room was small but cozy, with wood walls, soft lights, and old photos on the shelf. He made her tea. Not sure if she could drink it, she took it in both hands and smelled it. Her eyes softening. "You're kind," she whispered. "That is rare in the stars." Ethan smiled. "You're not from around here, huh?" She gave a small laugh, then winced in pain. "My name is Sela," she said. "I'm from Lithoris, a moon in the Triac system. My ship was attacked. I escaped, but I crashed here." Ethan nodded slowly. "I'm Ethan," he said. "Just a simple forest guy. No spaceship, no aliens sent till tonight." She looked at her injured leg and frowned. "I cannot move it," she said. "It hurts, like fire." Ethan kneeled beside her. "I know a little about injuries," he said. "Let me check it." He gently removed the boot covering her foot. Her leg was long and smooth, with soft glowing lines running up her skin. Her foot was swollen, but not broken. "It's twisted bad," Ethan said. "I can help with that." He grabbed some warm oil and rubbed it in his hands. "Back on Earth, we call it massage therapy," he smiled. "Might feel strange, but it helps." Sela looked unsure, her cheeks glowing a bit pink. But she nodded. Ethan started gently, his fingers working into the tight muscles of her leg. She gasped at first, then slowly relaxed. The glow from her skin pulsed softly, brighter with every movement. Ethan felt warmth under his fingers, like energy flowing back into her. "You humans heal with hands," she whispered, surprised. "Some of us do," Ethan replied with a chuckle. "I just learned it helps people feel better." As the minutes passed, the pain in her leg seemed to fade. Her eyes fluttered, and she looked at Ethan with wonder. "I don't understand," she said. "That touch?" It woke something inside me. Ethan looked confused. It's just a leg massage, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. But Sela looked serious now. No, Ethan, she said. This was not just touch. Then, the lights in the cabin flickered. Outside, the wind stopped, and the air felt strange. Sela stared out the window, her voice low. Something has been awakened. Asterisk, the night air outside the cabin was still. No sound, no wind, only silence. Inside, the glow from Sela's body pulsed like a heartbeat. Soft and warm, Ethan stared at her leg, still resting in his lap. He had stopped massaging a few minutes ago, but the warmth was still there. Her skin shimmered gently, almost like it was responding to something inside her. I don't understand, Ethan said slowly. Did I hurt you? Sela shook her head, her long white hair brushing against the pillow. No, she whispered. It didn't hurt. It felt alive. It felt real. She looked down at her leg, moving her foot slightly. Testing the pain, her eyes widened. It doesn't hurt anymore. Ethan looked surprised. I've helped with sore muscles before, he said, but not like this. He stood up and walked to the fireplace, pouring water into a small cup. Sela watched him with a strange expression, a mix of curiosity and something else. You said you're from Lithoris, Ethan said. Handing her the water, do your people heal differently? Sela took the cup, her fingers brushing against his. She looked at the flames and nodded slowly. We don't touch, she said. Not like this. Our healers use light and sound, machines and energy fields. But this, your hands. They reminded me of something ancient. Ethan sat back down, raising an eyebrow. Ancient? Sela closed her eyes for a moment, as if remembering. There are old stories, she said, of beings who could awaken others with touch. Not just heal, but awaken sleeping powers inside. They were rare. Forgotten over time, Ethan scratched his head, not sure what to say. I think you're giving me too much credit, he said, laughing nervously. I'm not magic, just a guy who lives in the woods. Sela looked at him, her glowing eyes soft and serious. Maybe it's not about magic, she said. Maybe it's about feeling. No one has touched me with kindness before. Ethan paused, her words sinking into him like a weight. You mean never. Sela nodded. In my world, kindness is rare, she said. Everything is about duty, performance, survival. We are trained to control emotions, not express them. But when you touched me, it felt like I was allowed to feel. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. He didn't know what to say, so he reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm glad I could help, he said quietly. Just then, the room grew warmer, not from the fire, but from her. Sela's glow intensified, filling the room with soft golden light. The wooden floor beneath her began to shine slightly. Ethan jumped back, startled. What's happening? He asked, his eyes wide. Sela looked down at herself, her hands glowing, the markings on her legs pulsing like waves. I don't know, she said, voice trembling. This has never happened before. Ethan moved closer. Are you okay? Sela nodded slowly, her breath calm, but her eyes shining like stars. I feel powerful, she whispered. Then, outside the cabin, something shifted. A soft hum filled the air, coming from the sky. Ethan rushed to the window and looked up. Strange lights moved through the clouds, 3 of them, hovering silently. Are those more of your people? He asked, turning to her. Sela's face turned pale. No, she said. But they found me. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his back. Are they dangerous? Sela nodded, her voice low. If they know I've awakened, they will come. For me, the hum grew louder, and a beam of blue light scanned the trees outside. Ethan backed away from the window. They found the crash site, he said. They'll come here next. Sela struggled to sit up. her strength returning faster than expected. "Help me stand," she said. Ethan rushed to her side and supported her. She stood, shaky but tall, the glow now wrapping around her like a soft shield. Ethan stared in amazement. "You were half dead a few hours ago," he said. "Now you're glowing like a goddess." Sela gave a small smile. "Because of you," she said, "your touch woke something I didn't know was inside." Ethan heard a soft thud outside. He looked through the crack in the wooden door, shadows moving between. "The trees, they're close," he whispered. Sela took a deep breath, her eyes glowing brighter. "Then I must show them I am not what I was." She stepped toward the door. Steady now. Her body pulsing with strength, Ethan grabbed a flashlight and followed her. Whatever was about to happen, he couldn't let her face it alone. The door creaked open as Sela stepped into the cool night air. The forest was silent again, but something was different. The stars above looked brighter, almost like they were watching. Ethan followed close behind, his flashlight off, not wanting to draw attention. Sela's steps were slow but steady. Each time her foot touched the ground, the grass beneath her shimmered faintly. Ethan noticed this first. "Did you see that?" he whispered, pointing at the glowing footprints. Sela looked down, her expression calm but focused. "It's happening again," she said. "My body is releasing energy I never knew I had." She reached out and touched the bark of a tree. The tree glowed softly where her fingers touched. A small flower bloomed on a branch that had been bare. Ethan blinked, stunned. "You're healing things just by touching them." Sela turned to him, her eyes shining like stars. "I think your massage didn't just heal my leg," she said slowly. "It awakened something ancient inside me." Ethan frowned, thinking, "You mentioned old stories. Legends about touch." She nodded. "Yes, the light touched," she whispered. "They were rare beings in our past who could connect to the natural energy of the universe through emotion and touch. But we thought those stories were just myths." Suddenly, they heard a soft mechanical sound in the distance. Ethan turned toward the sound. His hand on the flashlight, glowing drones floated between the trees, scanning the ground with cool blue light. "They're searching," he said. "Looking for you." Sela closed her eyes, breathing in deeply. "I can't hide anymore," she said. "If they see what I've become, they might try to take me back." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we face it together," he said simply. Sela looked at him, surprised again by his calm strength. "You barely know me," she said. "I don't need to," he replied. "You crashed on my planet, I helped you, and now you need someone to stand with you. That's enough for me." The ground near them began to glow, forming a faint path of light under Sela's feet. She stepped forward, and the forest responded. Leaves fluttered gently. Branches moved as if clearing the way. Ethan watched in awe. She's not just walking, he thought. She's changing the world around her. As they moved deeper into the trees, animals peeked from the shadows, deer, birds, even a fox drawn to her presence, but unafraid. Sela whispered something in a language Ethan didn't understand, and the animals bowed their heads before vanishing into the woods. "What did you say?" Ethan asked. "I thank them," she replied. "They feel the energy too." Soon, they reached the crash site. The silver remains of her ship lay still, smoke rising gently from the broken hull. Sela walked slowly toward it, placing a hand on the outer shell. The ship shimmered under her touch, and a soft chime echoed into the air. From above, a new sound answered, deeper, stronger, vibrating the air. Ethan looked up to see a dark shape moving in the sky. It was massive, much bigger than Sela's small ship. A large alien vessel descended silently, blocking part of the stars. "They're here," Sela whispered, her hand still on the wreckage. The larger ship stopped just above the trees, floating like a shadow. Then, a beam of light shot down near them, forming a wide circle on the ground. Ethan shielded his eyes, but Sela stood still, watching. A voice echoed from the ship, deep and commanding. Awakened one, identify yourself. Sela stood tall and took a step forward into the circle of light. I am Sela of Litherus, she said, her voice steady. I have changed, and I will not return to the silence. There was a pause. Then a second voice, calmer, more curious. You carry the signature of ancient power, but you are untrained. Sela nodded. I carry it because of a human, she said. Turning to Ethan, he healed me, not just my body, but something deeper. The ship remained silent for a moment, then the voice returned. That power is not meant for your kind anymore, Sela's eyes narrowed. Then maybe it's time my kind remembered what it means to feel. She replied. Suddenly, the ship's lights began to scan Ethan. He stepped back, but stood his ground. What are they doing? He asked quietly. They're trying to see what you are, Sela said, but they won't understand. The beam turned red for a moment, then flickered, then shut off completely. The ship made a strange sound, almost like surprise. Ethan looked at Sela. What did you do? I didn't do anything, she said. But you did. A small orb floated down from the ship and hovered in front of them. It projected a new message. You are now being watched, it said. The council must decide if what you are is a threat or something else. Then the orb vanished, and the ship slowly rose back into the sky. Disappearing into the stars, Ethan let out a long breath. Well, he said, that wasn't creepy at all. Sela smiled faintly, then looked down at her hand, which still glowed with soft light. I don't think this is over, she said. Ethan nodded. No, but whatever comes next, we face it together. The stars above the forest glowed like tiny eyes. But now, they weren't just distant lights. One of them moved, growing larger, coming closer. Ethan and Sela stood in the clearing, the remains of her crashed ship behind them. The forest was silent, too silent. Even the night bugs had stopped singing. Ethan stared up at the massive object in the sky. It wasn't just a ship, it was a floating city, black and silver, with rings of light spinning slowly around its core. Sela, he said, his voice low. That thing. It's not here for a friendly chat, is it? Sela's eyes narrowed, glowing softly. No, she replied. That is a High Council vessel. It belongs to the old rulers of my kind. They don't come unless something dangerous or important happens. The ship hovered directly above them. Wind pushed down from its energy field, rustling the trees and kicking dust into the air. A beam of pale blue light dropped from its underside. Then 3 glowing figures floated down, slowly landing in the clearing. They were tall, slender, and cloaked in robes of starlight. Their faces were covered with smooth masks. No eyes, no mouths, just silver surface and quiet power. Ethan stepped closer to Sela, his fists tight. But she raised a hand, stopping him. They are seekers, she whispered, judges from the ancient line. One of the masked figures spoke, its voice echoing like a song through the trees. You have awakened, it said. That is not permitted. Sela stood tall, her voice strong. I didn't ask for permission, she replied. I crashed, I was dying. And a human saved me. He touched my pain, and something changed. Another seeker stepped forward. You have triggered the old light, it said. Long ago, we sealed that gift to protect our kind from chaos. Emotion is unstable, dangerous. Ethan frowned and took a step forward. Dangerous, he said. She healed the forest just by walking through it. Where I come from, that's called a miracle, not a threat. The seekers turned toward him, as if surprised he could speak their tongue, or maybe surprised by his boldness. You are the human, one of them said. Your DNA is simple, your species primitive, and yet you broke the barrier in her soul. Sela's glow intensified. Because he felt what others forgot, she said. Not duty, not controlled, just care. The tallest seeker raised a hand, and the ground shook slightly. You speak of feelings. It said, but power tied to emotion leads to ruin. You must come with us, Sella of Litherus. You must be studied, controlled. Sella clenched her fists. No, she said. I choose my path now. I'm not a weapon. I'm not a tool. And I won't be taken. The forest around them grew brighter. Flowers bloomed, trees leaned toward her. And even the ground seemed to pulse with warmth. The seekers shifted uncomfortably. You don't understand what you've done. One said this awakening could call things from beyond things we sealed long ago. Ethan looked at Sella. Is that true? He asked. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. There are things, she said, old, buried energies that respond to the light, but they also fear it. Ethan stepped beside her. Then maybe it's time someone faced those fears, he said. The seekers lifted their hands, and a pulse of cold air shot toward them. Ethan shielded his face. Sella stood still, her body glowing brighter than ever. The cold pulse hit her, but instead of harming her, it shattered into tiny sparks. The light from her body pushed the energy back, surrounding them both in a protective sphere. The seekers staggered back a step. This is not possible, one of them whispered. The human's touch has bonded. Sella looked at Ethan, her voice quiet but sure. It's not just the massage, she said. It's everything, your care, your words, your belief in me. You made me feel alive, and that opened the light. The tallest seeker lowered its hand. You've made your choice, it said, but choices have weight. With that, the three seekers vanished into beams of light and shot back up to the ship. The massive vessel paused in the air, then began to rise, fading into the stars. Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That was intense, he said. Sella turned to him, her expression soft. They're not gone forever, she said. They will report this to the council. Ethan looked at her glowing skin, at the peaceful forest now pulsing with strange new life. And what will they do? Sella looked up at the sky. They'll test us, she said. They'll send something, but I don't think they understand one thing. Ethan raised a brow. What's that? She smiled. They think I'm the threat, but they haven't met you yet. The forest was still glowing from Sella's power. Tiny blue flowers had appeared where her feet touched the ground. Even the trees leaned slightly toward her, like they wanted to listen. Ethan sat on a fallen log nearby. Watching her in silence, he still couldn't believe what had just happened. The glowing visitors, the pressure in the air. The strange ship above everything felt like a dream, but Sella was real, standing in front of him, and she was more than just an alien now. She was something new, something powerful. Sella was quiet, staring at her own hands. The glow had faded a little, but the warmth remained. Ethan walked up beside her. You okay? He asked gently. She nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered. But I can feel it. They're not done with us yet. Ethan sighed. I figured, he said. They didn't exactly look like the live and let live type. Sella smiled at his words, but it didn't reach her eyes. She turned to him, serious now. They will return, Ethan, she said. And when they do, they might give me a final choice. Ethan tilted his head. What kind of choice? Sella looked down at the glowing forest floor. To return with them, she said. To leave Earth. Be sealed away, studied, silenced, or stay here. And face whatever punishment they bring. Ethan clenched his fists. That's not a choice. He said, that's a threat. Sella stepped forward and sat on the log beside him. For my people, fear is a kind of control, she said. We are taught to fear emotion, connection, change. They will see me as unstable now. Too dangerous to remain free. Ethan looked at her. What do you want? he asked softly. Forget the council, forget the ship. What do you want? Looked into his eyes. I want to stay, she said, not because I'm afraid to go, but because here I feel alive. Your world is loud, messy, full of feeling. But for the first time, I don't feel empty inside. A soft breeze passed through the trees. Carrying the scent of flowers and warm soil, Ethan reached out, taking her hand in his. Then stay, he said. We'll figure it out together. But even as he spoke, a strange low hum returned to the air. This time, it wasn't the massive ship. It was something smaller, sleeker, fast. A new vessel shot down from the sky. Landing in the clearing just beyond the trees, its surface shimmered like water, and the door opened with a hiss. From it stepped a single figure, tall, armored, and holding a glowing staff. Sela stood up at once, her body tense. I know that armor, she said. That's a judgment enforcer. Ethan stood beside her. Great, he muttered, because we haven't had enough visitors tonight. The enforcer raised its staff. Not an attack, but an announcement. Sela of Litherus, it said. The council offers you one last chance. Return now and be cleansed of this power. Or remain and face total erasure. Sela stepped forward, her glow returning. I choose to stay, she said firmly. This power was not stolen, it was awakened through compassion. The enforcer's mask did not move. It spoke again, this time addressing Ethan. And you, human, it said, do you accept the risk? Your actions have altered a life form protected by galactic law. Ethan didn't hesitate. I'd do it again, he said. She was in pain, and I helped. Simple as that, if that makes me dangerous. Then maybe your laws are broken. Then, enforcer paused, the tip of its staff glowing brighter. Then, something unexpected happened. It lowered the staff slowly. The council expected fear, it said, not defiance, it seems. The awakening has spread. Sela looked confused. What do you mean? She asked. The enforcer turned its head toward Ethan. The bond you share, it said, is not one-sided. He has been touched too. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Wait, what? The enforcer nodded. Your energy is no longer purely human. It said, you carry traces of the light now, Sela gasped, stepping closer to Ethan. She placed her hands on his chest, feeling the warmth under his skin. It's true, she whispered. I feel it inside you. The enforcer stepped back. This changes everything, it said. The council cannot erase you both. Ethan smiled. Guess they'll have to come up with a new plan. Sela turned toward the enforcer. Tell the council, she said. We choose to live not as weapons, not as secrets, but as beings who feel, who heal, who grow. The enforcer bowed slightly. Then prepare, it said. For what comes next will test more than your power. It will test your bond. The vessel rose into the sky and vanished in a streak of light. Sela turned to Ethan, her eyes wide. Are you scared? She asked. Ethan shrugged with a small smile. Only a little, he said. But I'm standing with you. Sela leaned her head gently on his shoulder, and the forest glowed just a little brighter. Asterisk, the morning light filtered through the trees. But the forest felt heavy. Ethan stood outside his cabin. Staring up at the empty sky, Sela was inside, silent. Preparing for whatever came next, they both knew peace was only temporary. The enforcer had warned them. The council would test their bond. Not with speeches or threats, but with something far more serious. Inside, Sela tied her glowing hair back, her skin faintly pulsing. She could feel the shift in the air. Something was coming, something ancient. The test wasn't just about her, it was about Ethan too. Suddenly, the sky darkened, though the sun still shone above. A crack appeared in the space above the clearing, like a tear in the air itself. From it dropped a glowing cube, no bigger than a human head. It floated silently. Then spoke with a cold voice. "Subject Ethan," it said, "you are chosen for the trial. Your body will remain unharmed, but your mind must prove its worth." Sela rushed outside. "No," she shouted, "he's not ready." The cube responded without emotion. "This is not about readiness," it said. "It is about truth." Before Ethan could ask what was happening, a beam of light struck him in the chest. He collapsed as wide open, but not blinking frozen. Sela dropped to her knees beside him. Shaking him, "Ethan," she whispered, "come back." But Ethan's mind was no longer in the forest. He was somewhere else, floating in a black void, with stars swirling all around him. He heard voices not from outside, but from inside himself. Doubts, fears, regrets. "You are weak." One voice hissed. "You are just a man. What can you offer someone like her?" Another voice whispered, "She is light, and you are shadow." Ethan clenched his fists. He remembered the warmth of Sela's hand, the pain in her eyes when they first met. He remembered the moment she stood by him when the council threatened. Then, a glowing version of Sela appeared before him. But this version looked cold, distant, perfect. "You saved me," she said without emotion, "but that doesn't mean you belong by my side. You are temporary." Ethan's breath caught. The words cut deep, but then something sparked in his chest. Not power, not light, but love. Simple and strong. "No," he said, "you're wrong. I didn't help you for reward or glory. I helped you because you were hurting, and I couldn't walk away. I may not be perfect, but I'm real." The cold version of Sela vanished, and warmth returned to the stars around him. The darkness faded, replaced by light. Then the voice of the cube returned. "Honesty, loyalty, empathy," it said. "Rare traits in beings of war, you have passed back in the real world." Ethan gasped and opened his eyes. Sela caught him, pulling him into her arms. "You're back," she whispered, tears in her glowing eyes. The cube floated before them again. "The trial of the heart is complete," it said. "The bond between you is not based on control or duty. It is born of choice." The cube began to rise, slowly fading into the air. Then a second voice echoed from the sky, one the council had never used before. It was not cold or robotic, it sounded like a real being, tired but wise. "For centuries, we feared emotion," the voice said. "We believed it brought chaos and weakness. But we forgot that it also brings courage." Ethan of Earth, Sela of Litherus. "Your union has changed something deep within us." Sela looked up, eyes wide. "They're watching," she whispered. Ethan stood beside her, shoulders straight. "Then let them see everything," he said. The light above them twisted into a new shape, a symbol, glowing across the sky, a circle split in two, but connected by a glowing thread. The council's voice continued. "You are no longer experiments," it said. "You are examples. Live as you wish, but understand your journey is now watched by more than just us." Then the sky cleared, and the cube was gone. The warmth faded from the air, but something stronger remained. Sela turned to Ethan, her hands still glowing. "You did it," she whispered. "You passed." Ethan smiled, a little tired, but proud. "Guess I'm not so simple after all," he said. Sela laughed softly. "No," she said, "you're not." But deep in the stars, unknown to them both, others were listening too. Old enemies, hidden watchers, ancient forces long forgotten, because the awakening of one alien girl and one human heart had just shaken the quiet of the galaxy. The skies above Earth were peaceful again. No glowing ships, no threatening voices, just clouds drifting gently and birds singing in the trees. But something had changed, not just in the forest, not just between Sela and Ethan, something far greater had begun. Sela stood at the edge of the clearing, eyes closed, her bare feet in the grass. The wind moved around her like it was listening. Ethan sat nearby, watching her quietly. It had been 2 days since the council's test, and the galaxy had gone silent. But Sela was not resting. She was listening, feeling, reaching into something. Older than any council, she touched the earth with one hand, the sky with the other. A pulse of light rippled through the ground, gentle but powerful. The trees responded, blooming out of season. The animals came closer, unafraid. Ethan stood and approached her slowly. "You've been doing this since morning," he said. "What's going on?" Sela opened her eyes. "I'm not just healing the forest," she said. "I'm sending a message." "To who?" he asked. She looked up at the clouds. "To the forgotten," she replied. "To the ones who were cast out when emotion was banned." Ethan frowned. "You mean others like you?" She nodded. "Yes," she said. "Long ago, many were awakened. Like me, but the council silenced them. They were scattered, hidden, sleeping in corners of the galaxy. But now, they will feel me." Suddenly, the wind stopped. A pulse of energy shot into the sky, invisible to the human eye, but powerful. Sela stepped back, her breath steady. "It is done," she whispered. Within hours, strange things began to happen. In distant parts of the galaxy, old temples began to glow again. Forgotten statues opened their eyes. Alien children across planets looked at their hands and saw them glow. The light that had been buried was waking up. News spread fast, though. Most of the galaxy didn't know why. All they knew was that something beautiful, something powerful, had returned back on Earth. Ethan and Sela sat on the roof of the cabin, watching the stars. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly, "helping me that night in the forest?" Ethan laughed gently. "Not even a little," he said. "You changed my life." Sela smiled. "You changed the galaxy," she replied. But not everyone was happy in the darker regions of space. Warlords, corrupted rulers, and broken machines watched the light with fear. They had thrived in silence, in control, in a world where no one felt too deeply. Now, that world was breaking. A message was sent to all council members. The awakening is spreading. It read, "We must act." But some voices, once cold and hard, now hesitated. Because they too had seen what love could do. Back on Earth, a new visitor arrived, not in a warship, not with a threat, but on foot, dressed in simple robes. Walking gently through the forest, Sela sensed them before they arrived. She walked out to meet them, Ethan by her side. The visitor bowed deeply. "I am Irith," he said. "I was once a seeker." Sela's eyes narrowed. "What do you seek now?" she asked. "Truth," Irith replied. "For years I enforced silence, followed rules without heart. But when I saw what you did, how you stood beside a human, it broke something in me. I came to learn, not to judge." Sela looked at Ethan, who gave a small nod. "Then learn with us," she said, "because this is only the beginning." And it was. In the days that followed, more came quietly, peacefully. Some were aliens. Some were hybrids, even one strange being made of light and sound. They came not to rule or fight, but to listen, to feel, to awaken. Ethan built new shelters with his hands, Sela guided with her heart. Together, they started something the council could no longer control. A place of healing, of power, of peace. Years later, travelers from across the stars would speak of the day the forest bloomed with stars, of the human who touched a dying alien's leg and changed the fate of millions, of a girl who was traded, judged, nearly erased, but chose love over fear. And if you visit that forest on a quiet night, you may still hear the whisper of leaves, the soft hum of glowing roots, and the gentle voice of a woman saying, "I was once lost, but one human's kindness showed me the way back."